Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Hello, Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. This podcast is inspired by the group coaching call that we had at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss this past week, which was talking about the fact that if you have a food addiction or if you have been a chronic dieter your entire life, that this is actually a sign that there is something bigger happening here. There are other issues going on in the background that, if are not addressed, will cause you to forever be stuck, constantly worried about your weight, your exercise plan, your routines, etc. That has you wake up in the morning and constantly stressed about, did I eat too much last night? Are my pants going to fit today? What's the number on the scale going to say? I need to eat perfectly today. Am I going to miss my workout today? What am I going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? How am I going to make sure that I don't snack later? How am I going to fit into that dress for that wedding that I have coming up? How am I going to make sure that I don't eat or drink too much at the party coming up? All of these different thoughts that are constantly going through your head all the time, that will continue unless you actually begin to look at, number one, why it's happening in the first place. And number two, like part of that, the deeper issues that are going on if you have these kinds of thoughts running through your head at all times. If you're watching this live on Facebook, then please comment below if you have these thoughts running through your head all the time. I know for myself, for many, many, many years, and I know from all my clients, it's many more years than even happened to me. Most of my clients are between 50 and 60 years old, and they have been having incessant food, body, and weight thoughts like this since they were teenagers or younger. And I can tell you something, it never has to do with the actual food. They have thoughts like, something must be wrong with me. Why can't I figure this out? I'm a food addict. I can't control myself, and the list goes on and on and on. And I'm just here to say, like, that's absolutely not true. None of that's true. Just consider the fact that you have not had a conversation about what's going on underneath the surface of your issue, of your situation. So let's get into it. So number one thing, like my biggest wish in the world is that people knew about emotional mastery. It's my belief that once we learn how to master our emotions and become aware of what these feelings are and the thoughts that create these feelings, that food addiction goes away. Even other addictions, over shopping, over social media-ing, all of these things that people have these major issues with in the world wouldn't be an issue if there was awareness and knowledge on how to master your actual feelings. So for my clients, and you can look for yourself right now, like, when in your life did you begin dieting? When in your life was it the first time that you became aware of your weight and started thinking about how were you going to lose weight, or the fact that you were not happy with your body? Just take a second and just look at that for yourself. Where in your life did this start? Because we know that you were not born thinking about your body and wishing it was different. That is just not the case. You were born into the world whole and complete. You were a perfect angel, and your parents just could not get enough of looking at you and just appreciating your amazing, cute little baby body. And you were good. You were moving, you were shaking, you were living, you were experiencing different bodily sensations and feeling. Emotions pass through you, and you would cry, or you would yell, or right, or you would coo, or you would laugh. Like, this is just how energy moves through us as soon as we become part of this planet as living, breathing human beings. It's still, as adults, the way that we are experiencing the world. It's still, nothing changes. We still process, emotions come through us, right? Our bodies, they are what they are. We experience bodily sensations. But what changes? What happens? Well, as we get older, first of all, different things come in, and all of a sudden it's not safe to feel our feelings anymore. So we start coming up with ways to block it, to not feel it, to make it wrong to feel anything less than comfortable in our lives, when in reality it's just energy passing through us. And so we learn things like, oh, when I eat this food, it actually soothes me to not have to feel this feeling. And so therefore, unconsciously, I'm just going to eat a lot of this food so that I don't need to feel this feeling. Well, what would it be like if it actually was safe to feel your feelings, right? So there's all of this new kind of parenting that's coming in now, where I believe it's called conscious parenting. And basically, if your child is having a tantrum, rather than saying like, go to your room, right? And, different things on how we might have been handled as kids. It's, things like are being said like, it's okay to feel angry, and this is how we can manage your anger. Like, what would feel good? Do you want to punch a pillow? Whatever. Do you need some space? Right. And like encouragement to communicate our needs. And so this was not developed to us. We were not developed to know what our needs actually are. All we know is we're uncomfortable and we need relief. And that's as far as we've gotten. Okay. So again, okay, great, Leslie. That's awesome. Like, I was not brought up that way. I did not get that kind of emotional support or understanding of how to deal with these things. So how do I actually work past that now? So especially when it comes to the food, body, weight stuff. So it's number one, realizing that you don't have a food issue. You do not have a food issue. You do not have a food addiction. Okay, I understand that your behaviors and your habits look like this, but that's not the case. All right. If you have things of like, oh, well, I cannot bring peanut butter into my home, or I cannot bring nuts into my home, or I cannot bring chips into my home because I'm going to eat those things all day long. Been there, understand that. I literally had a boyfriend in the past where I asked him to lock the cabinet that had the sweets in it so that I would not get into it, and still found a way when my stress level got super high to break into that cabinet and to eat way more sweets, like addict-like behavior. So I get it. I understand what it's like to put food into the trash can and 2 minutes later find a way to still take it out of the trash can and eat it anyway. I know what it's like to go to the grocery store and promise yourself that you're not going to eat everything, and then you're still ripping open a bag of something on your way home, or eating everything as soon as you bring it home. I know what it's like to say like, okay, I'm just going to get this dessert and I'm going to have it for weeks and weeks and just have a little bit and eat it in one sitting. I know what it's like to finish eating dinner and say, great, that's it, I'm done, I'm not going to go back. And then you go and you sit on the couch, and without your even knowing why, you're up back in the kitchen and snacking and saying, okay, that's all I'm going to have. And then you get up again and you sit down again and you get up again and you sit down again. And inside you're saying, why am I doing this? Like, why am I continuing to, get up when I'm saying I'm not? And Of course you think there's something wrong with you and that you're broken. I've been there. I get that. But there's actual things that you're not aware of that we need to actually put in place to support you in getting where you need to go to not have those things happen anymore. Since applying emotional mastery to my life, in addition to learning a food freedom mindset. Okay, so what a food freedom mindset looks like, the way I describe it is being a health conscious person is a language that you know how to speak very fluently. You know how to speak it so well. Yeah. So, for example, you know about, probably not eating a lot of food before bedtime, about carbs and inflammatory foods, perhaps, about, what you should and should not do to lose weight, right? All my clients could write 10 books about weight loss by now. And knowing that is making no difference. Now, the difference is to a food freedom mindset. So there are people in this world, myself included now, after being rated a 10 plus plus on a food addiction susceptibility scale, which I bought into that belief that I was a food addict for 3 years and actually treated myself as if I was an addict, like literally terrified of eating sugar, terrified of having anything with flour in it, terrified of having even 1/10 of an ounce more of food than I should be having, because I thought that the slippery slope would start and then I would get into the food, which my behaviors since I started to believe I was a food addict got worse. Once I believed that. Because why? Because our beliefs are everything. So if you believe you're a food addict, you're going to start acting like a food addict. If you believe you have a weight problem, then you're going to start to micromanage all of your stuff versus embracing that, hey, maybe my body is different than a supermodel's, right? Maybe at 5'2", which I am, right? With a bigger chest, that came from my dad's side of the family, like maybe I'm not supposed to be 108 pounds, which is what I got down to when I believed I was a food addict, which once I got there, trust me, I was trapped. I was so terrified of gaining any weight. And those of you who have lost weight in the past, all of my clients have successfully, but the problem is they can't keep it off. But once you lose that weight, you're kind of in a more challenging situation because you're like, oh my God, any ounce of extra food I'm going to eat, like you feel like you're blowing up and it's just like, I don't have any wiggle room to do that. Now, on the opposite end of that, if you are more on the higher end of your weight right now, that can also feel like a trap because you're like, oh my God, if I put on any more weight, I'm going to have a stroke. I'm going to have a heart attack. Like you're in that scary danger zone either way and not free at all. So yes, when I was in that situation, right? So the food freedom language, it's like, I needed to adopt a new mentality of somebody who had freedom in this area of their life. How do they eat? How do they act around food? How, right? What are their food behaviors? How do they organize their health regimes during the day, for example? And I needed to be willing to get out of my comfort zone and start to face my fears of eating a lot of these foods, which, by the way, is where I see that most people are not willing to go because it's so scary. The idea of weight gain is so terrifying to people, which I get, that they never actually break through to get to what I have today, which what I have today, for example, I just got back from the most beautiful trip to Italy. It was amazing. I had such an amazing time. In the past, when I was traveling, first of all, as soon as the trip was booked, I would start obsessing about making sure that I could lose weight before the trip so that I could not worry about gaining so much weight and, whatever, or wanting to make sure I fit in the clothes while I was there, wanting to moderate myself and make sure that I didn't eat off my food plan when I was there, wanting to make sure that I would still work out when I was there, wanting to make sure that, I wouldn't overdo it. And then when I was there, when I was on the trip, I would be obsessing about everything that I was going to eat or not going to eat or going to drink or not going to drink. And are my pants going to fit tomorrow? Like I was always in a state of heightened anxiety when I was traveling. And And it sucked, just full out sucked, and definitely took away from my ability to be present and enjoy the experience. What else? So I got to enjoy all, like none of that, like had no concerns about weight or food or body, all leading up to the trip. On the trip, literally not concerned about any of that kind of stuff. I had pastries every morning, cappuccinos. I did a wine and food tour, so got to try all the wines and all the appetizers. There's nothing that's on my do not eat list. I get to try it all. I trust myself in my body and what feels good. I know exactly like when I'm able to feel my fullness cues, and I know that I don't want to eat past a certain level because otherwise I'll feel sluggish, uncomfortable, unhappy. But that took work. That took the process of getting past this diet mentality and learning how to get back to that beautiful space when we did not care as babies about the way we looked. And we just ate when we were hungry and drank when we were thirsty and continued on with our day in this amazing world that we live in. Yeah. We were walking a lot in Italy. Great. That's fine. I was just grateful every day that my body was strong enough to climb the stairs to, around the Colosseum and Sorrento and Capri that have, they're built in the mountainsides, and that my body was strong enough to do the paddle boarding. And I was, brave enough to jump off a cliff into some water, and like, just so amazing, right? It's just like I'm experiencing this full out and like feels so good. And having the fresh fish right next to the ocean and the mussels, and not needing, like being able to be in tune with, like I could have wine with lunch, right? But like I don't desire to feel like I don't want to have wine right now because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and I don't want to be tired after, this lunch, right? But I could have. All of it is, everything's an option, but like everything is an empowered choice for me because I want to feel good consistently throughout the day. And I've learned how to master how to do that. Okay. Then I got back home and I was interested. So I stepped on the scale. I was up 1 pound. Right. And eating totally different. They have pasta and pizza for every single meal of every single day in Italy. If you've ever been there, I even asked our tour guide I was like, how come I can't get a salad here? Okay. Like, and then he was like, oh, if you really ask, they'll make you one. But like, he's like, nobody really wants to have salads here. Like, we just want the pizza and the pasta. Okay. I prefer a nice salad. It makes me feel good. But anyway, so it's the fact that my weight went up 1 pound, right? And it's just like, that could probably be gone it'll be gone by the end of the week. But there was a time in my life where that 1 pound would have terrified me. There was a time in my life where it would have been a lot more than 1 pound. There was a time in my life where I would be like, as soon as I got home, I'm going to get back to the gym and I'm going to, go grocery shopping, and I'm going to eat salads all week to try to get myself back down quickly. Like all of this, like very just huge, right? Like whatever you consider it. It was just a lot. Versus now it feels like this, like, it's just like, okay, like, yeah, cool. Like, it's just like an energy game and I just want to feel good. And I did go back to the gym yesterday. I'm going back to the gym today, but that's because I like it. That's because it's my routine. That's because I'm into it. It's not because I feel fat or I feel whatever, or I'm disempowered, or I'm trying to get myself back to where I was prior to leaving. All right. And this gets to translate over into your personal life, so, okay, a wedding's coming up. My sister's getting married in a couple weeks, right? I got my dress months ago, and it's like, well, I don't know if my weight's going to change, but it hasn't changed in the last like 3 or 4 years now. So yeah, let me just get it altered. And if it, needs to be altered again, okay. And yeah, just, I know that the dress fits and I'm excited to go, and I'm not having any thoughts about needing to look better when I'm there or anything. It's just like, I'm just going to get to enjoy this experience with my sister. I'm going to make sure that I feel like really beautiful as I'm a bridesmaid, and yeah, just like have a great time. And it's just the amount of presence and enthusiasm you can have about events without all of the drama going on in the background about this kind of thing. So going back to that initial time when you started dieting, like most of the time it comes from on an extreme. And if there was any kind of actual physical or sexual abuse in your past, that affects your confidence in your body. And unfortunately, probably 1 in 3 of my clients have some kind of sex abuse in their past. I know it could just be emotionally unavailable parents. Having that in your life in whatever way, shape, or form. Sometimes it might have been that your parents were totally physically present, but they were not emotionally present to you growing up. And that could also affect things. Another one I see a lot is if you were in high school and you felt like you didn't fit in somehow, or, other girls in your class or whatever, you're comparing yourself to them, that translates where it's like, I'm not good enough. And for the whole rest of your life, you're trying to chase being good enough, which is why you have a weight problem. It's not the weight problem. It's the belief that you're not good enough that you're chasing that only makes you eat more, because that stress vicious cycle, if you haven't seen my video about the vicious cycle, then contact us or comment below if you're watching live on Facebook, and we'll send that over to you. It's also on the website, hpwl.co. I have so much content. It's been years of doing this podcast. And I'm just so committed to helping people get out of this, because I know how much of a terrible trap it can be. What else? So that's one thing. If you were ever an athlete or, whatever, and from a young age doing workouts and knowing how to eat so that you were optimally performing, that can also be a space where your brain got very fixated on the diet mentality. And that can mess up where you're at today. So just getting to look at that for yourself, and whatever was going on at that time, like whatever that new thought or belief that you took on about yourself, like that's the starting point for you of what we need to work on and repave, in addition to teaching you the food freedom language, in addition to teaching you emotional mastery, so that when you do get triggered, so say you step on the scale and you see a number that you don't want to see, you see a photograph of yourself and you're mortified by the way you look. I remember when I was in 6th grade, there was a pool party, and it was back when you still had those cameras that you had to develop at, the convenience store nearby. And one of the photos that was developed was me giving a hug to my friend, and I saw the backs of my thighs and I thought they looked monstrous, and I was mortified. And I can still see that picture in my mind. It was like etched into the back of my brain. And I'm sure as I'm saying this, you could all think of a photograph that you saw that just totally triggered you. And from that day on, it became this like obsession with getting skinny, because I was running away from that terrible feeling of me feeling like I was a fat cow, honestly. And the thing is like photographs don't tell the full story. If you ever have taken a photograph of the moon, it looks nothing like how beautiful the moon looks through your own eyes. So it depends on the angle, depends on the sun, lighting, it depends on everything. All right. So, but you're living your whole life trying to run away from that photograph that was just a photograph that did not actually show what you actually look like. Okay, or the number on the scale. Can't remember if I already said that. If you see a number that's bigger than you want to see, go to the doctor's office and you're stepping on the scale and you see a bigger number. That can also be something that's so emotionally triggering. And then you go and, okay, I'm starting this diet. I'm going to get on Optavia. I'm going to research this new latest fad. Like that will continue for the rest of your life, and you will be stuck on the yo-yo painful diet train for the rest of your life if you don't actually know how to identify like, oh, this started when I stepped on the scale. Oh, I actually need to find out what I was believing, and oh, I need to go towards the feeling and feel it and release it. And now I can breathe again. And now I can make an empowered choice around food just in the present moment, not so that I am losing weight over time. It's such a lie. The weight loss industry is feeding off your insecurities. They know that you will never get out of this cycle unless you hear a message like this and you're like, F this, like I need to do something different. This is so annoying. Good. Let me think if there's any other examples. Bathing suit season coming up, or vacations or holidays, like we've talked about. Photograph, mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror, putting on a pair of pants that are too tight. These things will send you down a rabbit hole of just feeling so insecure. I've been there. I understand it. It's painful. But, unless you have someone that's going to hold your hand through those times to not have you just do the autopilot of jumping back into your diet over and over and over again, and maybe you lose 10 pounds and then you gain 15. And that phenomenon when you look back at your life in photographs and you're like, oh my God, like I remember hating my body at this time, and now I'm 20 pounds more than I used to be. Right. And it's like, why? Well, because you never dealt with the actual issue back then. So your weight will continue to go up, and you will continue to be more and more unhappy if you don't actually work at the root cause of what's going on in the first place. I don't want that to happen to you. It's just a terrible tragedy. To me, it's just people experiencing inner peace is success to me. Like people getting to realize that you are this infinite, beautiful, creative human being. You are perfection. You are still that perfect little amazing human being that you were born into this world as, where no one could find a single flaw in you. Like you are still that being. You don't need to do anything to be worthy. You don't need to look a certain way. You don't need to act a certain way. You just need to learn how to be. Right. And in this day and age, it's like everybody places so much emphasis on the doing and the achieving and the right. And it's, to me, families thriving is like what I care about more than anything. And it's my belief that if you as a mother are constantly obsessing about food, it is affecting your relationships. It's affecting your kids negatively. They are taking on your energy, your beliefs, your habits, your behaviors. And it's causing them to also start on their own, eating disorder train in the future. Whether you're talking about it or you're not talking about it, they are receiving your anxious energy about it. And, as women, our superpower is our emotions and our feelings and our insight and our ability to look on a bigger scale on what's going on in the family unit and what needs to be happening. But if you are locked in your mind, constantly trying to fix your weight, you're unable to be present to that. You can't be the best nurturer and the best provider, caring, all the things that you are as a mother, if you are stuck in this food trap. And, I believe that the world will be a better place with emotional mastery. I just did a TEDx talk of how to master your emotions in 90 seconds. And for me, my story was totally food, body, and weight. But this affects every single area of your life. If you don't have emotional mastery, your relationships may not be successful. I work with a lot of high achieving women who have been in toxic relationships, narcissistic relationships, bad divorces. And these are all signs of the fact that there's work to be done in the inner world. You can have unconditional love in your life. You can attract a beautiful partner into your life if you don't have one. You can improve the relationship you currently have, but not without emotional mastery. This also affects your career, right? And your finances and how you feel about finances, because if you also have a scarcity mindset around food, body, and weight, we know that probably you also do around money as well. The two tend to go hand in hand. So again, it's all that like increasing your faith and learning how to like trust in everything that's happening. Everything's happening for you. It's really a holistic override that we get to do for your whole system. So I hope this message is helpful today. You do not have a food addiction. You do not have a weight problem. You have a thought problem. You have an emotion problem. You have a thinking problem. It is possible for you to get out of that. Your feelings about this are valid. Your stress and anxiety about food, body, and weight all the time, you shouldn't be ashamed of it. You shouldn't be embarrassed about it. Most people have it, whether they're talking about it 24/7 or not, because it's just how the brain works. But there is a way out of it. But in order for you to get out of it, you need to take action. You need to do something different, drastically different, to get a drastically different result. So if you're in a space like I was in after I was done dieting, where you just want to learn how to love and accept your body, that does not mean having to, it does not mean being like fat promoting. It does not mean neglecting your health. It means being willing to do whatever it takes to have a balanced relationship, a healthy relationship with food, body, and weight. The willingness to actually overcome your fears of weight gain and eating certain foods in order to have a peaceful relationship in this area of your life. It takes something. It took me a lot. I actually, it was a lot. I'm not going to lie. But my commitment to getting what I have today, where I get to experience a beautiful trip like I did last week, the way that I got to for years now. This isn't a temporary thing. This is the new reality that you get to live in when you're committed to this. And, getting to just experience my life present, and not worry about this. I know that if I ever have children one day, I will not pass this disordered eating on to them. And that feels really good. Now, there's other areas of life that I'm always looking at because, right, there's other things, and I'm committed to getting past those things as well. But for some of us, I believe that we've come into this world to experience inner peace and to get past all of these inner emotional issues that are holding us back from being able to experience really the kingdom of heaven on earth, really not waiting until we're dead to experience peace. But experience peace now. It's possible. So, but you can't do it, without taking some kind of different action. So if this message is speaking to you and you're ready to get help, then either comment below in the Facebook group or follow the prompts after this. You text the word hypnosis to 1-855-BE-ALIVE. You'll get access to my free training, which also has a hypnosis session within it. You'll be on our text list. You'll be invited to different things. I'm doing different things all the time. I also send inspirational texts to just remind you that you're beautiful and remind you that, everything is safe and it's okay to breathe and embrace where you're at right now. So 1-855-BE-ALIVE, text the word hypnosis to that number to get subscribed to that. And then, yes, on our website, hpwl.co, there's a way to book a call with my team, which will, if we find out that you're in a space where you are ready to get help with this, then currently you'll be speaking with me on a Zoom call just like this, and just going in deeper on like, what is your ideal relationship with food, body, and weight? Like, what about what I'm saying today do you want to have? Like, yes, I'll have what she's having. And then get excited about, and show you how I actually step by step bring people through that process. I'll tell you that it's a combination of personalized coaching, of emotional mastery and learning that. I have years and years of experience of doing this. My first hypnosis for permanent weight loss program was in 2015. And I walk the walk. I've been through all the things. I'm a registered nurse by trade, so I understand health situations as well, which I think helps people. Also the community aspect, having other people who have been through it as well, walking with you through this journey is super important. And the hypnosis as well, with the food freedom language of learning how to do that with modules. So it's a 6-week program. All the details of the program are on our website, hpwl.co. which you'll be able to book a call. And imagine if by Christmas you're not obsessed about food, body, and weight stuff anymore. If you're listening to this live, and just sending you guys so much love. Just please don't engage with this conversation that there's something wrong with you and that you're a food addict anymore. You are not. I know there might be some safety in believing that you are. It's not keeping you safe anymore. It's time to let that story go. It's time to face the fears so that you can experience a life that's beyond your wildest dreams. I'll see you for the next episode. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.